to the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast, your one-stop shop for television, movie, video games, comic books, book reviews, and more. Now, without further ado, here's Steven and Mike.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone show, number 2 today. Hey, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. We are packing it in today because we've got some extra special geekdom sauce going on for you today. I am your co-host, Mr. Steven Boster, along with my one and only good friend, Mr. Michael Shanks. Mike, say hey to everybody.
Good morning to all you geeks out there in Geekdom Land. And this time I remembered to turn the loop off on our hello there and
well, hello there.
Hello there.
Well, hello there. Well, hello there. Well, hello there. No,
Who talks first? You talk first. I talk first. Who talks first? Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Still getting used to this restream or StreamYard.
StreamYard. I love StreamYard compared
too.
to Restream. I absolutely adore it. Hey, Mike, do you want to introduce who our special guest is for this episode?
Yes.
I'm so excited.
We have an awesome, tacular guest. He's been with us before. He is too cool for you, Mr. Tharen Lowery.
Hello, world. How you doing? How's everybody? How's everyone? I'm still working on my intro, man.
All good.
It's all good, Tharen. Tharen, thanks so much for joining us.
More listeners than it is. Yeah. No, watchers too. I don't want to
watchers and listeners.
Yeah, we have viewers and listeners. So
viewers, that's right. That they are called viewers. That's right. Instead of watchers. I mean, I don't want to call them the watchers unless they have that special, like, extraterrestrial, intergalactic type thing. It's all good.
That's creepy if they're watchers, because I mean that means they can see everything we do.
I mean, they're the council of the Green Lantern Corps. Come on, guys.
Of course, that kind of puts them in league with Santa Claus too, because Santa Claus sees everything you're doing too.
That was like elves, bro. But they are small. I mean, if you think about it, the Watchers are as small as elves. Oh, sorry.
True. But do they have the pointy ears?
They do.
Maybe.
Do have that. Yeah.
Okay. You're more of the Marvel expert, which is part of the reason you're on today.
That's right. That's right. Everybody, we are talking. What are we talking about?
Wakanda Forever.
Wakanda
Forever.
Yeah.
So excited today to have this discussion with Tharen. As you guys know, a couple of things real quick I need to share with you. I have to apologize to everyone about screwing up the times. My brain was on Mountain Standard Time, not Central Standard Time when we normally launch. So I apologize for the setting up the times for everybody when we were going to go live, and we've been an hour late for each episode. So I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I woke up this morning. Well, first of all, Brenda's like, aren't you recording today? Yeah. Well, Steven's got it scheduled for 8 a.m. I go, well, Steven's wrong.
Yeah, I goofed. It's normally 9 Central Standard Time, and right. I'm so used to having to do time zone changes because I'm in Mountain Standard Time. My brain just thought, oh, it'll adjust. And actually, I goofed it. Rather than saying 8 Mountain Standard, I said 8 Central Standard. So I apologize, everybody, for that. Yeah, my bad.
No problem.
Is it like daylight savings time up there? Or is it just one of those things where it's because you're in high altitude?
Yeah, no, we're still daylight savings, but yes, it's only.
Does that make you closer to the sun since you're in the Mountain Standard Time?
Something like that, maybe. It feels like it.
We use sundials too.
Yikes! Ouch! It has begun, everybody. Well. Hey, everybody, before we get going, our big topic today, yes, is Wakanda Forever.
Wait. Audible?
I am.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying before we get to our big topic today,
Oh, okay.
talking
Sorry.
about Wakanda Forever, Black Panther 2, I want to do our sponsorship.
Yay, we have a sponsor.
I know it's very exciting. Hey, everybody. Many of you know by now that I am a big Audible fan. I have over 140 Audible books in my library, but they are now sponsoring us here at Two Geeks and a microphone. So very excited. I'm going to put this up. If you go to audibletrial.com/2geeks, TWOGEEKS, audibletrial.com/2geeks, you can get a free 30-day trial to Audible. Audible membership gets you all kinds of cool benefits, not only from the newest releases, but all the way to mystery and thrillers. You get self-improvement books, you get business books, you get motivational books, thrillers, celebrity memoirs, the whole gambit that is available to you. And so if you sign up for free 30-day membership, you get one Audible credit to use however you want. So you can get anything off the thousands and thousands and thousands of titles that Audible has on their audiobooks. But not only that, if you continue in your membership with Audible, you get also access to Audible Plus catalog. The Audible Plus catalog is all kinds of how shall I say, included audiobooks that you don't have to use a credit for. You can go ahead and download all kinds of classics, all kinds of books that are available, audiobooks that are available to you. Now, what I love about Audible personally is I have the Audible app. So anywhere I go, whether it be in my car, whether I'm waiting in line at the grocery store, I can listen to an Audible audiobook while I just do my everyday life. And so I really enjoy it. As I said, I've got over 140 in my catalog. I am actually listening right now to Atomic Habits. That's the one I'm listening
Right now?
Well, not
Like right now?
no. But I'm listening to Atomic Habits. And what's great is, well, not right now, but it is in my queue to be listening to. If that makes
I was
sense.
going to be
Not
super
on the
impressed if
show.
you're doing this whole spew and actually listening to it.
Listening
right
at the
now.
same time.
Wow.
Yes, I've got my Audible app, and then I'm listening. Yes, all at the same time.
That's because
That's why I was.
hear me talk, people.
What'd you say?
Uh-huh.
Anyway, you can try Audible for free for the next 30 days by signing up at our site, audibletrial.com/2geeks, TWOGEEKS. It is worth it. I love it because I don't know about you, but my world is busy, and sometimes I want to catch up on some of the latest books or business books and or also geeky books. As I said, my favorite so far is off the Star Wars, Shakespearean Star Wars by Ian Desher.
Who we've had on the podcast, by the way.
Who we have had on the podcast. And it is it's like listening to the movie, but with all the sound effects, all the character actors and everything, but yet in Shakespearean prose, and it is fantastic. Music, the whole Shakespearean style and everything.
I just did a quick search on Audible, and since
Yes.
we do have a Marvel topic today, you can actually get Marvel Secret Wars, Avengers Endgame, Midnight Suns, Guardians of the Galaxy, Civil War. So there's even a lot of Marvel
all on
titles.
Audible.
Ooh, Venom, Lethal Protector. Oh, and it looks like they have narrations. Some of them might have full casts. So yeah,
so check it out. Yeah, check it out, everybody. So when you sign up, it does help out the show to help us pay for like StreamYard and Podbean and all the expenses it takes to do the show. So we really, really, really appreciate your support. And so that is the end of our Audible section. Thank you, everyone. Go try it out today.
Nice.
I mean,
all
I
right.
personally like the book 47 Laws of Powers. That's an awesome book too, by the way. Yeah, I can get that on Audible if you really want to up your game in far as like self-motivation, self-worth. It's actually a really good book.
What's the name of it?
47 Laws of Power.
I'm going to add it to my wish list right now.
There you go.
Nice. All right. So with that said, are we ready for our main event? So today we are going to be talking about the blockbuster hit, which blew away some of their numbers a couple weeks ago for their opener. Did very good. Congratulations to Marvel Universe and the opening of Wakanda Forever, the sequel to Black Panther.
Mhm.
So that will be our discussion today. Tharen, since you are our guest, I'm going to give you the honor of picking our rating scale. What would you like to have for a scale for this one?
All right, before I give my rating, I'm gonna say this right about now. I did not expect this movie to be as good as it turned out to be, and also at the same time, I did not expect them to go and to have a second movie. To be honest with you, so that's two things I'm starting off, and I'm laying down the hammer right about now because based off of how the first movie went.
Kick it off!
Yes, how the first movie went, which I gave the first movie, if I'm not mistaken, I think I gave it like 4 out of 5 vibraniums and stuff like that. The second movie,
now we're out of 10. Now we've doubled.
We're doing 10 now.
Doubled the
We're
score
doing 10?
now. Yeah, out of 10. Okay.
Yeah, so I got to go extra hard on this one. All right, so I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10 as far as vibraniums.
Wow.
And the reason why I'm explaining my logic throughout the actual movie as far as why there is a 7 out of 10. It's a great movie. It's a phenomenal movie, and I am very happy with the results as far as like the through and through, like how they left things off. But for the most part, throughout the movie itself, I had some issues with. I had some some very very interesting points.
I am shocked. Color me shocked.
I am too, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
Because no, I because of our first review, when you joined us for the first review for Black Panther, I really thought, this is similar in style, similar in nature, great characters, great acting, and I thought, Theron's gonna love this, because I watched it yesterday to get ready for the show because I wanted to come in fresh, and and so I am shocked. Now here is the other thing, Theron, I agree with you. I would give it 7. I'd give it a fair 7 out of 10. I could be convinced to go a little higher, maybe, but 7 out of 10 is at vibraniums out of this. I did not like it as much as I did the first one.
Yep.
Now I will say the homage to Chadwick Boseman was great.
I agree.
Yeah,
it was well done. It was respectful. It was articulate. I love the story arc of dealing with grief. I thought was good. And the storytelling wise, I thought was a struggle for as far as that. Now, in all fairness, we're trying to give homage to a character who really created the Black Panther character as we know it in cinema. I thought he did a fabulous job. I loved his work, and we're dealing with that transition. But I understand why they call it Wakanda Forever
and
Black
not
Panther 2, and not Black Panther. It wasn't top billed as Black Panther 2. It was top billed as Wakanda Forever. I get that, and it should have been that way. And then the storyline wise, I struggled quite a bit. In the ending, I thought was anticlimactic for me from a story arc standpoint, but I'm a story arc snob, evidently, because we heard that with our review about Andor. So, I thought 2.5 hours was too long for this movie.
I did too. I thought that was a little bit too long. If they harped on the. First of all, in the intro part, they harped on the grief a little bit more than I actually anticipated. But the next thing that really threw me for a loop is they didn't have a contingency plan at all. Like you would think, if the monarch went down and if the head of that monarch, the head of state went down, they will have a contingency with all the other, heads of families there. they had all the other factions that had people that could challenge, Black
Mhm.
Panther and stuff like that. It didn't seem like, I mean, other than Queen Ramonda and stuff like that, she basically took precedent. Queen Mother did, but at the same time, it's just like, okay, they really didn't change tradition at all. They just kind of stayed their course as far as, oh, I guess this person's gone now, and then I'm just going to basically follow this new person now, and
Yeah.
it was no other.
Theron, I want to continue this conversation once we get to the spoilerific territory, but that is a good point. That is a really good point. Yeah, that's good stuff.
So
Because if I comment on it, I'm going to do spoilers, and I don't want to do that yet. So that's
I
good
think
insight, though.
I think all three of us are actually in agreement with this. I would give this a 7 vibraniums also. I thought overall it was a very good movie. And I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, though. I felt the first one was a better film.
The first one was much more better.
Much more better.
Cheers.
I mean, hats off to Angela Bassett, though. Queen Mother, she really, I think that's really what started
I'm not taking away from anybody's acting abilities. I thought everyone, was phenomenal as far as acting wise goes. I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm a little iffy on the choice of Black Panther, slightly.
Okay.
And I understand why they went that route. I get it. I just didn't feel. I don't know. I just didn't feel she lived up to it. The Ironheart story was okay. I don't know if it really had a place in this film. I almost feel like it should have been its own thing, though.
It is. It's going to be its own show.
Right, and I don't know.
They set her up for her own show, though.
Right, but I felt it was a little bit out of place in this, and I'm not knocking that storyline or anything. I don't know.
Okay.
You don't think it should have been included? I thought that was a little bit of a stretch too. Like they included her.
Spoiler territory. Spoiler territory.
Overall,
save it for the spoiler territory. Save it for the podcast. Save it for the spoiler territory.
All right. So good.
That's another shirt right there.
So yeah, overall, I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a good, very good film. It did not, in my opinion, live up to the first film. I did really enjoy the tribute to
Chadwick.
Chadwick. I thought that was done very well, and I liked the way they tackled it because I was curious of how it was going to happen. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was good. And I loved. I did love Ironheart's car, by the way.
Yeah,
beautiful.
I loved her car.
It was beautiful.
Her character. Oh, go ahead.
But I too felt it was too long. This movie could have been shortened down by at least a half hour, honestly.
At least.
Yeah.
What about the blue people?
The blue.
I was like
Avatar. Wait.
I was like, wait a minute, is this Avatar?
Yeah.
I thought that was it for a couple more weeks.
Yeah. Now that you said the blue people, okay.
Well played there.
The Atlanteans I liked more than I thought I was going to like. Actually,
they're not Atlanteans. They're Talokan.
They're what?
Talokan.
Well,
Talokan. Tokon.
No, in the Marvel comic books,
Kon or something like that.
In the Marvel, yeah, you're right. Okay, but in the Marvel comic books, weren't they still Atlantean?
I
thought they changed that for the film.
Oh yeah, they were like Atlantis or something in that nature. Right. They changed them to where they're more Mayan descent,
right.
Mexican indigenous folks. Like, well, yeah, that's because
it's like the Mayans underwater. Is how I took it.
That's exactly what they were. Yeah.
And I think they did that because they didn't want to equate it too much with Aquaman.
Yeah, that's true.
What's going on in the DC universe at the moment. And I get it. It makes sense. I actually enjoyed them more than I thought I would. I didn't think I was going to like them that much, and I kind of liked their story. I thought it was pretty cool. So, So yeah, overall, I would give it a 7.
Okay,
solid 7.
Okay. All right, everybody, we are moving into spoilerific territory. All right, now, okay, Tharen, we had some good stuff, so I'm wanting to hear it. Let's let it rip, my brother.
Okay. So I'm gonna start off with the um with the introduction. So I did like the fact that the introduction that Shuri tried to create the heart shape or synthetic version of the heart shape herb and stuff like that, given the
Okay.
fact that Killmonger was the one who killed all of the plants in the last movie. And that kind of threw me for a loop too. I was like, oh, they didn't have like a special stash or something like that. Everybody know to keep a special stash, underneath in the shoebox, in a in the forest somewhere out in the distance where nobody can find it.
Right.
Don't just put it in one central location for like it's somebody to infiltrate and then burn your whole. It's like your whole patch down. That was a very annoying
You
thing
make
for
a
me to
great
realize.
point there too. And
It's
this
like,
being
why
a
have
royal
everything there?
family,
Yes,
this being a
exactly right.
royal family, you'd think for sure they would have a stash, like you said,
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's keeping all of the artwork in Buckingham Palace. Like, why
Right.
would you do that? And it can burn. I mean, it can do that. Like,
Which, by the way, happened in The Crown.
yeah, and it actually did happen. Yeah, they
Yeah.
they lost so much stuff, but I was like, no, how come they didn't really spread it out or just try to have it to where? I mean, I understand that the other royals and stuff like that they couldn't take or ingest the actual heart shaped herb and stuff like that. They could if they wanted to, but it'll be a way for them to challenge the king. But they have to do it through ritual. And I've just noticed that right off the bat that everything was really, even though they are very technologically advanced, they are very still tribal. I mean, on both
Yeah.
sides with the Talokans and the Wakandans, regardless of how much technologically advanced they may be, they're very much rooted in tribal as type of mentality. So it's just like, oh well, nobody can't really rise up and take over the place in somebody that's already there because they're the family and stuff like that, and they won't be able to have any contingency plan. And that's the part that really threw me for a loop when it comes down to contingency plan. It's just like, okay, I understand King Mother was like, she was there and she was the one that was going to rule the nation, and they're still trying to figure out how to do that. Obviously, they didn't want to go the same route that T'Challa went because of the fact that people were trying to take vibranium. They've been doing that for like, years in a sense, since they've
Right.
known that and everything in that nature. So you already knew that they were already like, number one as far as like, hey, we need to get what they have or we'll go in and take it, which I understand. I give them praise for protecting their material, but I'm like, dude, you know how deep that mountain is and how vast that mountain is. Wakanda, don't get me wrong, it's been like really well fortified, but it's so many ways that you can get inside. Obviously we've seen that when freaking Namor went underneath the ocean and he infiltrated it without setting off any signals.
That's
And I
true.
thought that was crazy. I'm like, well, if he can do that, then how
Uh-huh.
come the military didn't been able to do that? Because they can only protect so many ports. And I thought they were more inland than anything else, but apparently there is multiple ways you can get into Wakanda, and with the help of a native or somebody infiltrating. And I thought
That's
that was
true
pretty
because
crazy.
in the original film, they made it look like it's impenetrable.
Yeah.
And this one, yeah, like you said, it seemed like there's all kinds of way. It's like people are just walking across the border in this one.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't even really think of that until you brought that up. That's
Yeah, it was, and then it was the fact that, I mean, it was one of those things where, okay, so the government is basically creating science projects in order for them to find vibranium elsewhere in the world because um they can't get into Wakanda. All right, I get that part. So I mean, if Tony Stark was alive, then technically he would have probably spearheaded a program in order to find it too. But then again, he's not alive, so therefore, his interest is out. Even though he may have had, I want to say at a certain point, he had vibranium tech in order for him to have nano, or at least he figured out a way to end up creating nanotech in order for him to have his suits to put on the same way as
right.
T'Challa did. And that kind of threw me for a loop too. As far as like, okay, so they have all this tech. All right, where's the military in this thing?
Yeah,
You,
and
you think.
if Stark Industries has access to vibranium, that
Mhm.
means the military does because Stark and the military are kind of,
I don't think
intertwined.
so. No,
You
no,
don't think so?
with Iron Man, I believe that he basically didn't want his tech to fall into military hands after they did the whole Sokovia Accord, and he sent all of his stuff away. Remember, he gave all of his
Sure.
property over to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man pretty much, I mean, that's a whole nother movie. But then again, Far From Home, when he actually gave it to like Mysterio, and Mysterio did whatever he wanted to do with it. Anyways, let's go back to Wakanda. So I figured that you would think that they will be able to create some type of like defense, either external, like some type of fortified defense, you know, to protect them from, you know, dealing with the likes of like Thanos and his, you know, monsters and everything in that nature. They'll be a little bit more well prepared. They did not prepare. They had a whole year after T'Challa passed away, and nobody basically decided to create it other than the Dora Milaje. They didn't protect themselves. They didn't prepare at all. I mean, I get it that Koye, I mean, I'm sorry, that Sherry made the midnight armor, but that was only for one person. She didn't make it for like the whole fleet or the whole army of the Dora Milaje. And I thought that was
That's
a little
because
odd too.
Michonne didn't like it.
Yeah, she didn't like it, but then again, she could have made multiple iterations of it, so therefore it can. What was it, girl named Anika? I think that's what it was. I think the other person that was there, she didn't.
Wait a minute. Which character were you talking about?
Anika, she the one that had the two blades, the dual blades, or she had
Oh,
the
that was so
two-handed
cool.
blades. Yeah,
Those
she had
vibro blades kind of thing.
yeah.
They were
So she
awesome.
had that. And if you go, and I'm going back to the comics a little bit, but the midnight warriors, those are like the elite versions of the Dora Milaje, and they didn't really get
Oh.
to it in the actual. I mean, they got to it in the actual movie itself at the end, but but they've always been there. They're the special guard to Black Panther and stuff like that. But you think to yourself, like, okay, so where is all of their military strength? Like, that was the part that really threw me for a loop in Black Panther. It's just like, where's the Queen's Guard and where's the military that they supposed to, you know, protect them? Because if they don't got their champion,
Ooh.
then how come they didn't build up their defenses if
Sure.
they're so vulnerable as far as their vibranium
Right.
constantly being stolen? That threw me for a loop.
Mhm.
And that was a difference that you saw in the first movie versus the second movie. Now I get it, the person who I can't think of his name right about now, Black Panther's friend and stuff like that. He was the one that basically raised their army because he was a part of their tribe. That's the one with the cloak, and they had the shields up and everything in that nature. But the Jabari, they should have had their own little faction as well too, in order to protect the nation as well too. They could have had, build up their envoys. So I thought that was pretty crazy. That it was like it was one of those things where, all right, we have a handful of women, the Dora Milaje, to protect the queen, and nobody protected the queen.
Yeah.
I thought that was crazy. And she has her own royal guard. I don't know if you guys saw
she's
it.
roaming around by herself and stuff, and royalty that doesn't happen.
Yeah, like chilling out on the beach.
Right.
Constantly being confronted with Namor threatening her right off the bat. Come on, bro.
Yeah, could you imagine Queen Elizabeth? I know there's times where Queen Elizabeth had her quote unquote moments of privacy, but even that moment of privacy, there's still somebody nearby who is watching over her. And so I would expect the same for Wakanda, Yeah, you're right. That's kind of crazy.
They were more concerned of protecting Riri than the queen.
Right.
Let that sink in.
Yeah,
they were more protecting Riri than Shuri.
Right, and she has no royalty.
She had no royalty. She was just like, oh, well, we can't spare one innocent life and stuff like that. But what about the Wakandans? Everybody that was basically getting massacred through the city when I'm telling you, when Namor walked up on screen and he was like, and when he went and he infiltrated there and he started to create a lot of havoc in Wakanda, I was actually pretty excited to see like, oh, this dude can do big damage. Like he is really, really powerful. And I love how they explain his ability where his body's like a jellyfish. The more he absorbs water, the stronger he gets. That in itself, that's a pretty unique ability. And what my thing is how come he didn't really do anything when Thanos came around? Because if Thanos wiped off half the life on the planet, didn't you think that they wiped off, the life for the Talokans as well too? That part really threw me for a loop as well.
I think he has a similar thinking towards like Aquaman has in a lot of the DC storylines where he feels that his people are more protected being under the water, that kind of thing, and honestly doesn't care. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really the way Aquaman is portrayed in the films, but in the comic books lately, he's portrayed that way in a lot of storylines where it's like, yeah, I really don't care what happens to surface dwellers. All I care about is my people, that kind of thing.
And he raised war for like the most simplistic
this is true
reasoning. I didn't really. I mean, when you talk about having a villain, and he really can't call him a villain because he's not. He wasn't really more. He wanted to do. He wanted to have villainous acts. I guess he wanted to go to war with the surface dweller. But I'm like, bro, I'm not scared of a beluga whale coming on the land where I'm living at right about. That's not gonna, unless you got some fish coming up through the toilet or something like that. Yeah, then I'll be freaked out. But other than that, I'm not. You're not Bob. That's not gonna scare me, man. I'm telling you right about now.
Piranhas coming up through the toilet.
Piranhas coming up through the toilets, the bathroom sink. Some tiger sharks. If he flood the street, I mean, I guess if it snows and heavy, like you do, like Sharknado or something like that, then I'll be a little bit concerned. I'm not taking no threats from no sea man. So I'm just like,
Space Page Omega just said Sharknado, man, it's real.
I'm not taking this threat serious.
That's hilarious.
And then what kills me is get him in the desert. I mean, that's all you really got to go. Just set up in the desert, and he ain't really got that much.
Oh man, you just took Namor down a notch for me now.
It really, I mean, his reasoning was really, it was really benign, and I thought that was pretty crazy. He wanted to bury his mother on land. He's seen the conquistadors or somebody that was basically there that was ransacking the place that he used to live. That he has no, well, I think he doesn't even know that place because he was born underwater, so he didn't know anything about it. And then he was like, well, I'm just going to sit on this idea that I don't like surface dwellers because I had a bad run in. I mean, I'm telling you, bro, not all of us are the same. So it's just like one of those things where he could have just developed his thought process over time.
I don't know. I think that's more about his ancestors and such, and
yeah,
he's trying to protect his heritage and that kind of thing. That's the only way I can justify that, though.
But it was only one of him, though. It's just like you didn't really see his elders in that situation. You see, if you noticed that when he was going through their kingdom or whatnot, it was mostly young, and it was mostly like it didn't really see too many elders. Everybody looked up to him, other than the original strain, other the original people who actually took their variation of vibranium, which I don't know if that's a variation. I guess it is technically a variation of vibranium. They made it seem like it's not vibranium, but it is vibranium. It's a water version of vibranium, and that's why they were able to do what they did. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the only. I don't know. Was that a part of the mineral? Is that the only? That was the only location that they could have found it at one point.
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't
it was
know.
like that was the only location they found it at. So what kills me is that all right, so they found the actual vibranium underwater when they went through the whole process of tracking it down and stuff like that. How come they didn't detect it above surface other than Wakanda, and in that one location they found it underwater, which I thought was a little interesting, which disturbed their whole kingdom, which set him off to where it's just like, oh, I gotta go kill this girl now.
Yeah, it was a little overdone.
That part really didn't bode very well for me.
How did you feel about it's not Namor, it's Namor. Namor. I am without love. Call me Namor.
Yeah, his name was said like 3 different times throughout the film, and I thought that was a little interesting too.
Yeah, it was said all kinds of different ways.
No one actually took him as a serious threat, which in a sense they didn't believe he was there. It was just like he was more of a ghost, and they just figured that it was nothing but Wakandans. So Wakandans was getting blamed for things that they didn't even really do.
Right, because no one knew that his people existed. That was the thing.
And if I'm not mistaken, it still persists. Like he's still they are still under the guise of not being detected. I think that was the end all be all negotiation towards it.
Right. Sage. That whole section, Kukulkan, Khan, the Serpent Guide. I read books, guys. That was, remember what's his name? The king of the ones, the Wakandans in the
M'Baku.
mountain.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That was the best.
I didn't
line.
I didn't remember that line.
It was the best line.
So
That's
M'Baku actually knew who they were, and which was crazy is that nobody else didn't know who they were, but M'Baku knew who they were and knew the name he was called too
That's
as well.
true. Yeah.
So
yeah, how did he know?
Because he read books.
Because he's in the mountains. He's in Mountain Standard Time. That's why. Hence, audible.com. Go read it. It's actually really good book.
Thanks for the plug there. That's awesome. I love
That's
it.
awesome.
Sweet.
All right, I gotta ask you.
Right.
How did you feel about Shuri taking over the Black Panther mantle? How did you feel about her being the new Black Panther?
Okay, they kind of stretched a little bit on the fact that in the comics, yeah, she do actually become black. She takes on the mantle of Black Panther. So that part didn't really struck me as odd or anything of that nature. It was just
I get that they did it because that's the way it goes in the comics. But
yeah,
the way they've set her up in the film and everything, do you feel that she's worthy?
I mean, because she has royal blood. She was able to the ancestor she chose was Killmonger versus her mom. That threw me for a loop. I think that threw everybody for a loop. It's just like that's the person she conjured up and she had a connection with.
Because her motives were different.
Motives were different. Her motives has always been different. If you go back in the first movie, it actually was a little bit more apparent than I've realized. I was like, oh, she's always going to be more like she's going to be like T'Challa and stuff like that. And it was already discussed that, oh, well, T'Challa, he's more of the noble. The dad, he's definitely more of the noble. Shuri, she was definitely the one that was like she wasn't the defector, but she was the one that was
more for revenge.
Well,
revenge,
the ends
but justify the means. Because that was the whole thing about her dad.
Yeah,
was the ends justify the means. I love how the whole when Killmonger came in and that discussion actually was very interesting.
Yeah, that was a very good discussion.
I agree with you. It threw me for a loop. I was like, what the what?
Mm-hmm.
Because first I thought, oh, she's on the throne. Her mom's on the throne. Then it comes around. There's Killmonger just kind of.
I kind of liked that though. I thought it was kind of cool.
It was good.
And
it was a great discussion.
I felt that it fit her character as far as she just has a different motive than what T'Challa had. So in that aspect, I agree. I just think physically and the fact that she's more tech based, she's not the physical aspect that T'Challa was.
So like in Spider-Man, she's the guy in the chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Here's what Sage Page says. I feel she is a filler character and T'Challa Jr. is ready to take over, making T'Challa Panther again for a generation who don't know that he's passed, if that makes sense.
I
like that.
I think so too. I really do. I feel like she's good. Don't get me wrong. It's two things that really threw me for a loop with her character. First of all, she has no fighting ability at all.
That's where I'm getting at. Yeah.
But you inherit that when you actually take on the mantle of Black Panther, you get more, fighting ability because of the heart-shaped herb, and then your ancestral powers is passed down to each iteration of Black Panther that came before you. So that part, that was like, okay, I'll give her a pass when it comes to that. Her motives, as far as like when they kept saying that she was the only one that scoffs at tradition, is because she was following the technological route that everybody else didn't. They were all, like I said, they were all tribal. They all, follow tradition to a T where they don't care. Oh, we have so that Black Panther dies. All right, we're going to have a Black Panther tomorrow. Nobody bats now. Okay, so this, when Killmonger came in and he killed T'Challa, and it was just like, okay, so I guess he's king now. Nobody said anything. Nobody really rised up or anything in that nature. They were all committed to that throne, and that's literally what it came down
to. Shuri doesn't play into the traditions as much. She doesn't agree with the traditions, and that was actually one of the things I liked in her growth of her character was she started to come into the traditions and started realizing how important they were to her society and everything. And I like that. I think it's cool, when somebody is respecting their own traditions and everything. So that aspect of her character I felt was a good growth, and I enjoyed that a lot. I just didn't feel physically she was the Black Panther. I honestly, I think Nakia, Michonne, as I know her, I think she'd make a better Black Panther physically.
Mm. Okay, so that was another thing that threw me for a loop too, is that when they got captured on the bridge. Okay, so which was one of the best fighting scenes that I've saw. That
that was pretty cool.
That was a really good fighting scene when she actually caught Riri and everything in that nature. I do love Riri character, even though that they didn't really put her more on. I didn't really think her suit really mimicked like how she took from the old Iron Man suits. It didn't look the same as like how it should have looked like.
I was not impressed with Riri's suit at all.
No, not at all. Not even her Mark I suit. It did not look like any of the trailer stuff. It didn't look like anything that reminded me of like her Ironheart suit, which I was like, whatever, stretch. I'm just gonna let that go. But the fight scene that Okoye put off and stuff like that, oh yeah, she was Okoye. I would say, like I said, Queen Ramonda and Okoye for sure, top notch performance through and through when there comes their action. Okoye was up a freaking hill when she was fighting against all of those Salokans, and then they had like regenerative abilities, and for her to get to be stripped of her title, that hurt. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
that hurt more so than seeing Shuri get impaled by the freaking ship, and I was like,
yes,
what?
Yes,
I agree.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yep. I felt more for her than I did Shuri, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really did. I felt I was more so like, okay, so I'm like, okay, I'm feeling the motive why she's trying to stop, Namor and everything in that nature. But I'm just like, she went back to her roots if you think about it, because that's when she started using tech in order to defeat her foes. She's not really going to fight them head on like how the dad would or T'Challa would, in a sense. Even M'Baku was too much for. He just took a blow to the chest, to the chest, and it was like you can tell right off the bat. Oh, he ain't got a dog in this fight. Like he can't go up against Namor at all. I don't think nobody really was prepared for him. So
yeah, I don't think Shuri compares to Namor.
No, she wouldn't. It was gonna be a really, if it was T'Challa in that sense, it would have been a very interesting fight. But it was a really, for her to take over that role and for her to call on the ancestor of Killmonger in a sense, it's because she needed to get things done. She's really good mentally to get things done. She's really going to, use her strategies to her advantage.
Right.
Oh yeah, she's quoting Batman.
Quoting Batman. She isn't the hero we wanted. She's the hero we needed.
Yes, for sure.
There we go.
For sure.
Sage's classing up to join again.
Yeah, for sure.
For everyone who doesn't know it, Sage was on our episode last week.
Sandman.
Yeah, we had him on for Sandman. He was a great guest, and we do plan on having him back, and he might get in on some video game discussions in the future. So we're looking forward to that coming up. I don't know. Shuri was okay. I like her. I like her as a character. Mm-hmm. I just didn't feel she lived up to the Black Panther mantle. That's me. Now I gotta say, her costume was beautiful. I love it. I love the look of it. It's fantastic.
Took both T'Challa's and Killmonger. The go. I really did thought that was a pretty a very, very sharp, very, very good aspect. Okay, another thing that really threw me for a loop. You remember when they both got captured, her and Riri, and they was down in the underwater cavern, and Namor kind of showed them how to get there and everything in that nature, and they was down there for a minute now. All right, so Nakia, right? She had a little suit on and everything in that nature. She had the little submarine. She figured out she tracked it all the way back to where they found the little herb and everything in that nature. Went in the underwater cavern, submarine her way down and infiltrated into their lair.
Okay.
Ended up rescuing Shuri.
Okay.
How they escape? when they were underwater. Remember that Namor actually put them, and they went through a little, entry because he had their own little spear like Wakanda did. They had their own
Right.
little protection bubble and everything in that nature. You can only get in through like a little wormhole or something like that, right? How did she
Right.
find that? How did she just? And then when they escaped, they didn't have a mask on. They didn't have any type of protection gear. They were coming. He said it right off the bat. The water pressure will crush your bones.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And they didn't have a mask. She rescued both Riri
No.
and Shuri.
The water pressure comment was for taking her down.
Oh, taking her
She
down.
had to have the suit
Oh,
on.
that's right. Doing the little Nemo trip. Righteous. Remember the guy on the remember the turtles and stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they follow the stream. That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah, okay, so taking her down there was going to kill her, but then again,
Yeah,
when they came
that's
back
right.
up, when they was escaping, so I'm like, all right, so is the place there? Is it how far down is it? Because you would think,
The cave wasn't that far. I think the cave was just more of a. My microphone's trying to attack me. The cave that they woke up in
Mhm.
was more like a length, like it took longer to get there. That's why they needed the masks. And because they weren't supposed to know. But yeah, the pressure comment was when he took her down to where everyone was, because only a few people were up there, and they were blue because they were out of the water.
I hear this voice, but I don't know where it's coming from.
Like,
is that God? Is that, I don't know.
Hey, your mother's gonna get mad at you, Megan. Or
I'm like,
no, it gives her a hard time because she doesn't like to come in and be on screen.
Okay, so
those are good insights, Megan. Thank you. So I
Yes,
wasn't
thank
making light of the thing. I was just making light of where's she at?
I can see her.
we're in the same room.
okay, I guess I don't know. Okay, I see your point, Megan, right there. But I thought that was a little interesting that they didn't have any type of respirators or anything. They just kind of went in the water and they came out. You would think
Yeah.
because they're underwater and they may be in an underwater cavern or something in that nature to help them breathe air and everything in that nature. But I'm like, how do they hold their breath long enough to come to the surface? And isn't that bad when you actually in deep water and you come up to the surface really fast? Your body got to decompress. Oh, that
Yeah,
shit
it's
hit a
a
pop.
nitrogen
You're
or
right.
something in the
Yeah.
bloodstream thing or something. Yeah, you have to be in a decompression chamber.
Yes, which that's why she
Just
took
ask
that
James
one down.
Cameron. Just saying.
So I thought that was a little
Oh
bit
my
of a stretch right
gosh.
there. And because Nakia, she was the only one inside this.
There are plot holes. Absolutely. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of plot holes throughout this whole thing. Yes.
Mhm.
Well, we're kidding ourselves if we don't think that there's plot holes throughout the Marvel MCU.
Cinematic
I
universe.
mean, yeah, there's
Oh,
plot
yeah.
holes everywhere. So
Yeah, because what's that? Okoye in game, she said that there was a disturbance in the ocean and they're going to handle it. And she said they're going the way they handle it is not by handling it. And it was already referenced that they knew where the Atlantic or Talocan is, wherever they're at and stuff like that. They knew where their existence. But then again, everybody for some odd reason in Wakanda Forever didn't know
Just
anything
ignored
about it. Yeah, nobody knew that they can land this whole vibranium detector on the beach where the Queen and Shuri's at undetected. It's just one of those things. I thought that was a little bit of a stretch too. All right,
nice.
Mhm.
I think that was two things that really threw me for a loop.
One of the things I think for me that I really struggled with story wise was, and it really created the conflict or the tension in the film, non-important or non-weighted, was the aspect that Shuri goes down and you get to see this beautiful city, this beautiful culture, this beautiful people.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden they're the bad guys. And well, wait a minute, if they're the bad guys, or is it just the military folks that are the bad guys?
That's true.
or
Yeah.
is it, it created some great, confusion about who should I really be rooting for or not.
Right.
And with Shuri's continued stubbornness on, her vengeance, or her that coupled with, well, I really don't want to root for her. She should have gotten over this by now,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. And when you're in the big battle and you're coming in, that's when the hero's supposed to have gotten over their self issues.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's why they're able to win, not at the last moment when the queen comes in and says, remember who we are, kind of who you are, show him who you are. And I'm like, well, okay. And I felt like it did her whole stubbornness and stuck upness about technology over tradition
Mhm.
hurt the wonder and the awe that I had for Wakanda, for tradition, for we have this
agree with that.
culture. It was, for lack of a better term, please excuse me, but it was pissing on the culture.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that.
And I
'Cause,
was
like
like,
I said earlier, I like the fact that she finally comes around to accepting, their culture and embracing their traditions. Because I feel it's an important part of everyone's cultures, everyone's different cultures, that they have different kind of traditions, and
Mhm.
I think you need to embrace your culture's tradition, to a certain point. I can understand her questioning it at times. I get that.
I get
There's
that,
nothing wrong with
sure.
that. But at the end of the day, you still need to respect your traditions. And that was the thing I came to the appreciation of at the end of it, was she finally learned, okay, tradition has a place. There's an importance that technology isn't always number one, that
Mhm.
the tradition actually does fall into place. But I do feel that she still relies too much on technology, and that's, in my opinion, a downfall to her character.
Yeah. Well, I feel like at the same time too, like Namor's character, he was still stuck in tradition to where it blinded him to
That's for
seeing
sure.
anything different than what the world can offer him. He doesn't. He's only looking at it from, because he's lived a long time. You would think that he would have seen a lot more difference in culture, a lot more difference in like mannerisms with the surface dwellers.
For being 400 years old,
Yeah,
yes.
for being
Yeah,
you would think they have a better grasp on
right.
you
You
know.
think he would have read a book.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the pages would be soggy unless he had an audible down there to where he can actually, he can get sound waves, right? Yeah, sound waves can go through water. That's right, they can.
Just so you know, everybody, audibletrial.com/2geeks,
There you go.
TWOGEEKS.
We're nailing that audible thing today. That's
I'm just
great.
thinking to myself, like, yeah, and then I love how they had in their tradition and everything. Everything was really more, you had a lot of the old Aztec or the Mayan, or just their culture in a sense
Sure.
was really interesting. But to me personally, it seems like I said, they're one and the same. They reminded me so much of Wakanda, where they all right. So we have this vibrating, we have this piece of material that's going to be able to give us everything, and it's going to jumpstart our civilization, and it's going to keep us, safe in a sense. But you're not technically safe at all, and it's nowhere
Right.
near. And I thought this was one of those things where it broke the wall down for me too. Wakanda is not. It's not as safe as you think it is.
Sure.
Just because they're
Mm.
underwater, they're not as safe as they think they are. No place is safe on Earth if you think you're insulated just because you have a piece of magic rock that's going to give you all these special abilities to do certain things. It's not yours.
I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with realizing that Wakanda is not the safe haven that we thought it was, because otherwise, then there's no danger aspect to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that ultimately, I think that's a good thing that
Yeah.
vulnerabilities were revealed and opened. Because that gives them room for improvement. Before, there's no room for improvement.
Yeah, you think that they have hit the ceiling already. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, nobody can affect us. We're safe, but now it's like, oh, wait a minute. Now we realize there are things that we have to fix and take care of and advance.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately that's a good thing for them story wise.
Yeah, I'll say that too. Yeah, it's just like, just because you create this piece of tech, and I always go back to I'm gonna say it's Tony Stark. Just because you create a piece of tech doesn't mean that it's yours. That's the reason why. Hey, you use the government. You built this in America, so that technically it's American property, and then the government can come in and take it. If it's somewhere else, okay. So if you have a shield, if you have a shield like a Captain American shield or something like that in America, all right, well, we can make a British version of that. If we can steal it, it doesn't mean that it's yours.
Well, yeah, ain't that the truth?
Everybody's trying to take it. The French was trying to take vibranium. It wasn't just American. The French was trying to take vibranium.
Well,
everybody
and that makes
want to
sense.
have a piece of it.
That makes sense because that happens in the real world. One country gets something, and then every other country wants it.
I agree with that, Sage. Yep, destruction
in
always
both
comes
movies,
within.
Wakanda's destruction came from inside. I totally agree with that statement. That's a great statement.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, it's always built up on the house, and everybody has secrets. Even what's that? Forrest Whitaker character, he had a secret, and even though he was very well respected and stuff like that in the first movie, and stuff like that. Uncle James, he was there, and he was supposed to protect T'Chaka's brother, but yeah, he sold him out. And in this movie, you have so many instances is basically there that's trying to protect one another, but then again, they all come crashing down. And like I said, Namor character, yeah, you can look at him as the bad guy in a sense, but at the same time, it was just like, his motivations was just skewed. It's wrong through and through.
Agreed.
And then they had to change a heart at the end, and everything was happily ever after.
Right.
Well, Disney does own them, so
yeah, everything was. It was. Oh yeah, okay. So we can live in harmony, huh? You don't say. I've been saying that throughout the whole movie.
Who thought?
Bet your bottom dollar. Oh, sorry, wrong.
Everybody could live in harmony.
Man, copyright.
It takes the brink of death in order for you to realize. All right, I'm done.
I love it.
Of yielding. I mean, I guess he could have that. Nobody challenged him, I guess, in the sense, how in Wakanda you get to challenge the king and stuff like that. I think in Namor, nobody was able to challenge him in order to, oppose him as king.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a minute. So we get to that point in the film, and Shuri's not even there. I didn't understand that. He shows up. I'm here to take the challenge and blah blah blah. And in the first movie, we had T'Challa and M'Baku. They were battling for the throne, right?
Yeah, for king to be king of Wakanda.
To be king. Well, technically, that's what's going on here. And Shuri doesn't even show up. I'm like, well, how is there a challenge? I don't understand. Who's he going up against?
So did she learn her lesson when it comes down to tradition? Did it only suits her in the moment to basically have a tradition?
Touche. You're right. Yeah.
Did she really learn anything in the end result?
She loses a couple points for that one. Okay. All right. I get it. But I didn't understand that part in the movie. I'm like, well, so who's freaking king now? I don't understand.
They don't. I don't think they have a king just yet. And it didn't seem like they will have a king. You would think that because M'Baku he was so, he was such more of a dominance presence and stuff like that. He was kind of giving her, guidance when it came down to this is what you're gonna have to do, if you become ruler. But I don't think that really falls in her pot just yet. I mean, because and at one point he does channel his ancestors and stuff like the guy he prays to too, which is the white gorilla. I don't know if you realize that that's really his is different from Bass. It's not the same as Bass. So that's why he doesn't. That's why his traditions is different from everybody else's that resides within the Wakanda nation. And
so now Sage says Shuri didn't want the throne. She was just protecting the reason that they didn't challenge M'Baku is because he had the nation's respect after everything.
Yeah. And
then he says M'Baku is the actual king. But my thing was, okay, according to the first movie, they set it up that you had to battle to become the king. Who's he
Yeah.
battling? He's not battling anyone. There's
Well, he'll
nobody
battle
there.
anybody that he'll battle any of those other factions. The guy with the guy's son with the disc in his mouth, the lady with the long kind of like long hair and the
Okay.
balls.
So you're saying
He'll balance it.
one of them stepped forward and battled M'Baku?
They supposed to, but then again, maybe when she comes back from her being where she's at, she probably challenge him then and see how well it happens. But you gotta realize, I mean, once she stripped the synthetic, Wakanda, the powers of Black Panthers away and stuff like that, she can't fight, bro. That will be against M'Baku. She will not be able to fight. She'll yield more so than she will fight. So in a sense that it'll be her or way too little T'Challa grow up and he takes over the mantle and he does this, and then he goes pretty hardcore and stuff like. Which I love the fact that they.
I would love to see that.
That one
M'Baku as the Panther.
Yeah. So basically, M'Baku.
Oh yeah, for sure.
King by default then.
Yeah, be
at that point.
A gorilla panther.
See, that's the part. See, I don't think that's why I don't think Shuri should be Black Panther.
Or he can be king and you don't have to have the panther. You don't have to take the panther the serum.
Yeah, but see, the way they made it sound in the first film is whoever is Black Panther is king. I mean, that's the way
That's what I thought.
That's what I understood.
No, it's like it's like you have in the line of succession. Like usually it's like, all right, so in the books and stuff like in the comics and stuff like that, the first, I think, what did he call himself? They named him right in the beginning of the first person who became Black Panther and stuff like that. They followed him and then he just became ruler by default because he had the Panther. He took the serum and stuff like that. And each iteration of them, by decree and everything in that nature, they all have to go through this. They have to be challenged. All right. So if you challenge the king, you're basically going to challenge him, serum less or not. Usually they don't even take away the serum at all. But then again, that you'll be able to challenge him as king. It's just like a, by default type ordeal. And if he's defeated, then yeah, he gives up his rank. Like Killmonger became king of Wakanda at one point. Well, he did in the movies, but he actually did in the comics as well. And M'Baku becomes, king of Wakanda, and he don't have to take the actual serum in order to become the essence of Black Panther. It's just hand in hand that when Black Panther, when he show up on the scene and stuff like that, he's just going to remain king at the same time, which they alluded to that too. Do you want a king or do you want a defender? Do you want a fighter? Do you want a warrior? It's both. You can't have both. You can't have both. You can't have both, but you can have both. Because if your warrior's out, doing this thing, who's going to protect Wakanda?
Yeah, that's fair. You want to post that, what Sage Page said?
So Sage says, because the nation never seen two people hold that spot before, this movie showed you may be worthy of the crown, but not the protector. That's why when Killmonger challenged, he said, I challenge for king and Black Panther. He stated both.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because he had royal blood because of the brother. And also at the same time, he had the right to do so. I mean, he just had the privilege to do so. Now, he could have died from the serum if it rejected him, but then again, the Bass chose him to continue that mantle because he could.
It just seems to me if you've got a king or queen, whichever, in this case, I guess it would be still king. But if you got a king and then you got the protector, it almost feels to me like the throne is split. You know what I mean?
It should be.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to put together in my head.
I think it's great. I think it's great to have two separate, because one can still be there to rule and administrate and is not gone all the time. The protector is there to what? To protect. The ruler is there to what? To rule, to administrate, make sure things are happening from a big picture point of view. The protector has a role within that sphere of influence of the ruler. And so the ruler sees the big picture, where we saw that specifically with Shuri. Shuri could not see the big picture of the nation. All she could see was her vengeance and her focus. And now, in all openness, in all fairness, excuse me, she was focused on what? The protector role. She was very much in a protector role, but she was not in a ruler role. So I could see where they could be separate.
Yeah. Okay. And then usually you have the father and the son. You remember like T'Chaka, he was the one that was like the ruler, but he was a protector too, but he wasn't really going out and doing all the roles of Black Panther. He gave up that part throughout his reign. He wanted to be more diplomatic and stuff like that before he passed away and stuff like that. T'Challa, in a sense, T'Challa was like, okay, I want to be able to help. I want to be able to help fight. I took down Zemo. I did all these things, but the people wanted him to rule. And he was just like, nah, I still want to fight. And that's the reason why he went back out there and he started to help fight against Thanos, because he's seen a situation way bigger than Wakanda. He got, all right, this is way bigger than Wakanda. I need to join the fight and stuff like that.
The sad thing is I still don't see Shuri as much of the fighter.
She's not. She's not
a bad thing.
Yeah,
she's supposed to be the protector here, and I can't really see her as so much the protector.
Yeah, she's not. She wasn't. She fortunately, obviously it's a Marvel movie, so she's gonna be able to figure out how to make the serum. So that was one of those things that came to fruition. But for the most part, yeah, she didn't have any. She wasn't really like taking on the following the guise of Queen Mother and anything in that nature. You can see her, lockstep and with her mom trying to figure out how to rule, how to do this stuff. The Queen, in a sense, she wasn't really trying to rule. She was trying to just maintain what they had until they get into T'Challa's son becomes of age. That's why they kept it under wraps.
Right.
Which I feel like, man, I don't know. It's kind of hard. You got a nephew out there and your mama know and everybody else know it. You don't know. Hey, you don't know? I'm like, hey, I'm sorry.
Hey, wait a minute. How come nobody told me this?
How come, you could have solved all her problems.
Right.
She could have grieved. It's like they didn't even grieve together. You would think they did, but they didn't, though. It was just like, all right, somebody passed, all right, move on. When the Queen died, it's like, all right, she passed, move on. It was so much like of that back to back. I was just like, I can't really process this.
I think that was more about protecting T'Challa's son, though.
I know, I get that part.
Keeping him protected. So, because if somebody learns that T'Challa has a son, they're going to come after him. They're going to try and take him out. You take out the youngster quick, and you don't have much to worry about later on. So, I think that was all about his protection. So, I don't know if I have I mean, it's funny to joke about. I agree with that, but I don't know if I have a problem with that story-wise so much. But you are right. It seems weird that she would not know that.
Yeah, it was like, okay, Nakia knew, everybody knew to an extent. They could have hit him up in the mountains. They could have done something to, protect him, a little bit well insulated, but they kept him out of Wakanda because they didn't want him to be subject to all of that.
Did you see the photo of him, the kid, at the premiere? That was great.
Yeah, I did. I see him.
Yeah, he's standing in front of the poster doing the whole Wakanda thing. I like that. It was nice. Nice little photo of him.
Okay.
So that brings so let's move on to the future. So where do we go in the future? Is Shuri gonna go on into the next phase of MCU? Are we going to see her as the Black Panther for a while, or do we do a time jump and T'Challa's son is aged and we actually get his son take over as a Black Panther? Where do we go in the future with this?
I say they probably do more of a time jump where they show like how he understands, he'll come into the photo of Wakanda, they accept him, the people will accept him. I mean, they pretty much accept anything. They accept Killmonger, they can accept him. And
well, I don't think there's going to be a problem accepting T'Challa's son.
So
I don't think that's going to be an issue.
How that is, hopefully, and then if they do a time jump, it's going to be a more of a younger, his coming of age tale, and then he falls into the mantle. But again, it's like, okay, which one do you want to see? Do you want to see the warrior Black Panther? Or do you want to see the king ruling Black Panther? Sure. He can be it can be more of the crown, or it can be more of like, it can be more of a high stake Marvels event. You know, hey, how he's just gonna be able to have to figure that out too. It'll be his coming of age tale, and then
Well, if when he
Mhm.
becomes of age, he can actually challenge and take the throne, can't he?
he have to go through rite of passage and stuff like that. But he would get challenged, yeah. You know, but and it's just like anybody else, any other royalty that comes in, like how Killmonger's.
I mean, by bloodline, isn't he?
He
Isn't
should
he?
be king. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he should be. No, technically,
Yeah, by
if the
bloodline, he should be
king
king.
has a son, yeah, he's technically, yeah, he's
I mean, I
a
don't know
prince,
if
so
this
he's a future king.
works.
Yeah,
I don't know if it works like the British royalty, but I would think if it works the way British royalty,
all monarchs are the same.
I guess.
But yeah, I get it.
I guess. I mean,
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, she's more like whoever's ruler at the time at this point, I guess Mbaktu is. He's more like a fill-in king at this point. He's not,
Pretty much.
he's not the true king, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because T'Challa's son is next in line, the way I see it, anyway. I don't know.
Maybe they switched to democracy or something like that. And I think that's pretty funny. I think they mentioned something like that in the show. They said something about everybody having to vote, and everybody kind of like laughed at it or something. I don't know.
That's not the way royalty is done.
It's not how it's going to take a long time for them to figure that part out. But okay,
that reminds me of Monty Python. Well, who made her king? I didn't vote for it. You don't vote for monarchy. You don't vote for the king.
All right.
Anyway. All right.
I did. I loved it. That was good.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, with that, everybody, we are already over the hour mark. Woohoo! Great discussion, Tharen. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Well, hey, everybody, real quick, as we're wrapping up, I just want to remind you about our website, 2geeksmike.com, 2geeksmike.com, the number 2geeksmic.com. That is our hub for all things Two Geeks. So you will find all aspects of our show, finding the podcast, the YouTube channel, plus our merch page. You'll see some merch there. Also, our link to our Ko-fi page. Ko-fi is just like Patreon, but we like it much more better. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. So with that, I just want to encourage you, check us out there.
Aaron doesn't have
right. Or wait, let me do the pinky, lifting the pinky. Whee.
My pinky it's crooked.
My pinky's not, but the rest of my fingers are.
You guys are funny. So check it out. We've got a tier system, $1, $2, or $3 a month tier, where we've got extra content that we've been working on, extra content coming, which we're pretty excited about. If you have any questions, comments, or aspects of the show that you want to share with us, please hit show@2geeksmike.com. Show@2geeksmike.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us. And also don't forget about Audible, audibletrial.com/2geeks, TWOGEEKS, for our sponsorship. All right, Mike. Well, with that, I will leave it up to you to finalize this, signing us out.
Well, with that said, again, as always, thanks to Audible for sponsoring this episode. We appreciate it. And Tharen, thank you for being back on. We always have a great time when you are on. And today was much more better with your sound and everything.
That must be a thing. All right. Oh yeah.
The video came through great. We didn't have any problems. This is fantastic.
No hiccups. This was awesome.
I'm telling you, I love StreamYard.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, it's awesome.
StreamYard rocks, by the way. All right. So with that said, over and out, and Wakanda forever. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,
may the force be with you.